Okay, so first, I am Jim Quanci. I'm the Senior Director, Software Partner Development here at Autodesk. I have a team of about 40 people whose sole job is to work with our partners to make them successful using our technology. I'd like to thank you for joining us here. I hope you're going to participate in the hackathon over the next 6 weeks. If you're just here to learn about Forge, that's okay too. We're definitely, we want to help people who are making that transition or building up a second business, whatever that may be, or maybe you're a born in the cloud company who'd like to leverage what we're doing with Forge. So hopefully this is going to be an introductory review of, what Forge is about. So, if you're new to Forge, I think you've already heard a lot about Forge. I hope you won't get bored. I do have some new code samples I'm going to show that you may not have seen before. So even for the experienced, hopefully you're going to enjoy what I have to show you. Oh, and last, this will probably take, I want to say 45 minutes, and then we'll have 10 or 15 minutes of Q&A. Though we've got some great new code samples, so sometimes I have too much fun showing those, and it takes a bit longer. Okay, so, it's about the cloud. It's about how the cloud, changes everything. And it really does, the things that the cloud enables that you just couldn't do in the past, whether it's the unlimited compute power, the ability to bring on 10 computers, 100 computers, 1,000 computers to go at a problem. Whether that's, something like ray tracing or simulation, that kind of power wasn't available before, and it's available now for pennies an hour from people like Amazon or Google or Microsoft Azure. It's just easy power. The other thing with the cloud is just the connectivity. It's the natural place for collaboration to happen when you have people who want to work together, who are in different locations around the world. It's an obvious thing. And I laugh. I say different locations around the world. I don't know how many times we've used the cloud with something like Google Sheets or Google Docs, where there's 3 or 4 of us around the table looking at each other, but being able to work on a document or a spreadsheet simultaneously all at once. It's just so the cloud is a powerful thing. And then there's other disruptions to the technology, whether that's IoT, Internet of Things, which again is very much about web and cloud enabled technology, or things like 3D printing with connectivity makes it possible to get things printed in hours or a day that in the past, would take weeks or months to get what you wanted. And then with that compute power, you can design things in the past you can never manufacture that can only be additive printed. So there's been this disruptive change, and you can see it in what's happening out there in the market. Just one example of what's happening is look at worldwide PC shipments year over year. For 6 years in a row, the number of PCs sold has been dropping. I mean, if you cum up all those percentage drops, we're talking over 25% less PCs being sold today than was true 6 years ago. And you know what? It's not turning around. Versus you look at the growth in cloud computing infrastructure, just growing percentage growth year after year after year. So again, just one example of how the cloud is changing everything and how the markets are changing, seeing what's possible with the cloud: scalability, low cost, compute power, connectivity, and so on. So Forge, what is Forge? It's a set of web service APIs that power the future of making things. So a little bit about Forge. Autodesk has been building web services for our customers in a broad way for about 4 years now. Now you could say the first time we did it was with our Buzzsaw collaboration technology, which is over a decade old. But starting 4 years ago, we started building out what became A360. We did acquisitions that led to BIM 360. We've got Fusion 360, and now Fusion Connect. which is our IoT, Fusion Lifecycle, which is our PLM 360. So we've been building out these services to power those. And as we've done that, we've been generalizing these services very much with an intention of making them available to our partners, to the ecosystem, so that anyone working with design and engineering data, anybody working with design and engineering data can leverage these services that we've built. So we can get broader use, and frankly, so we and you, our partners, can be on the same, basic web services platform, which can make it very easy to do things like move data around, integrate, or create what I call experiences. I have a tendency to not even call them services or apps, because these experiences may be available through a desktop, through a mobile device, through a web browser. And they all may be a little different, tailored to the specific environment you're in, but they're all kind of the same experience. What device do I happen to have, and how do I want to access this information? So again, Autodesk very much believes in eating our own dog food. So when you use Forge, when you consider using Forge, I think you can feel good about and safe that Autodesk is using these same services, and hundreds of thousands of Autodesk customers a day using these same services, which means robust, reliable, secure, a good long-term investment. Okay, a little bit more about Forge. It's building blocks, it's components. I talk to a lot of people who are not all that technical, and I say, hey, think of Legos. You get many different kinds of parts, and you can put them together in different ways. Forge is very much that way. We've got highly visible parts of Forge, things like data management and model derivative for uploading files, for translating files. We have the viewer, which is very visible, but there are other parts of Forge, things like reality capture, turning photographs into models, 3D print, helping with 3D print pipelines, and things we have in the works, photorealistic rendering, and you're going to see a steady stream of new web services coming out of Autodesk. And the other thing about these being web services is you get steady improvements. I mean, we're making bug fixes, on a weekly basis. We're adding enhancements on a weekly, every 2-week basis. We do 2-week scrums at Autodesk. We do pretty significant enhancements of most of our web services every 2 months. And the beauty with web services, one day it just shows up. All of a sudden your performance is better, or there's some new capability there, and you just need to decide, do you take advantage of it or not? And again, knowing that, Autodesk is exposing these same, is exposing products using these capabilities to hundreds of thousands of customers, right? So you can use these services to extend your products. It may be extending a desktop app you have. Maybe you're born in the cloud company that, to make better use of design and engineering data. And so we provide you those blocks to add to your ship, so to speak. Now, Forge has a lot of different pieces to it. It's a wide variety of services. I like to compare it to AWS. AWS, Amazon Web Services, they have like 60 plus services. But they started with a few core ones, things like EC2, so their compute engine, things like S3, their storage. And, for Forge, the data management, the model derivative, which is translating, and the viewer are kind of like that core capability that a lot of people, most people who are using Forge are using. And this is about making it extremely easy to take information and share it with other people without giving out the binary. All these people, maybe it's somebody doing cost estimating, maybe it's somebody doing construction planning, maybe it's somebody doing inspections, maybe it's somebody on the shop floor or at a construction site who wants to look at what could be a 2D drawing or could be a 3D model, and you don't want to be passing these big honking binaries around. And you don't want to pass them around because they're big, they're clunky, they take big desktop apps to work with, and they're IP. You don't want to pass your IP around. You want to avoid rev control hell. So one of the several things you use Forge for is very simple, easy collaboration, working with almost any format used for design and engineering. Again, if it's coming from SolidWorks, CATIA, Pro-E, if it's an IFC file being used for a building or some kind of infrastructure, if it's an IGESTEP file, if it's a SketchUp file or a Rhino file, you want to share information to people, maybe visual, maybe geometric. Actually, it may be just data. It may be just counting things, number of bolts, number of doors, checking attribute information, things of that sort. It's kind of one of the base things that Forge can deliver. All right. So one of the base things, it's very much about collaboration. It's sharing in a very easy way. We got a lot of our early adopters of Forge are building sharing on their intranets. So you get customers who want to save the share information among their employees, and they may have thousands of employees. And they want a very easy way to do that, again, without passing around these binaries that are either too heavy to work with or they're proprietary and they have their IP and they don't want to let them out in the wild, so to speak, where you can run into rev control hell. The other thing is about keeping data at the center, keeping that design and engineering data in one place, and different people can get the information they want when they want it, being able to get a view on that information from your central data repository, wherever that happens to be. Instead of, again, passing files around. Once you start passing files around, who's got the latest file? Do you have the latest information? Was that cost estimate or project scheduling done on the latest? Versus I go to get that information right now from the current data right now, and I get out of these rev control issues that I run into. Examples. So I'm going to go through a number of code samples. And some of these are code samples you can go get on GitHub. Some of these are what our partners have done, so you can see what some real people are doing with Forge, kind of out in the wild with our customers. Because I'm a real believer, and I suspect many of you on the line are software developers, and seeing a good code sample is worth 1,000 words. Or maybe you're a product manager, product designer who's thinking about how you might use Forge. And again, sometimes the best way to learn is to see what other people have done. So we're going to do that. Let me get my browser up. Okay, here first I'm going to start. This is kind of a marketing website built using Forge. This is a responsive website. It looks like a bunch of JPEGs. You can open this up, this site lmv.rocks with your phone. It works just fine. This model at the top, yes, you think it's a JPEG, but clearly it's not. It's a model. You know, you can see we have lots of models here. V8 engine, an earth mover, I've got a house, a car. Some of these models are from SolidWorks, some are step files, some are for Inventor, some are from Fusion, some are from Revit. Doesn't really matter. Because this is engineering data, it has structure, so you can do things with it. You know, for example, here, I'm just going to explode this. We'll take it apart. And it actually comes apart smartly. It comes apart firstly at the very top assembly level. Then as you start to pull it apart, it starts to pull apart sub-assemblies and sub-sub-sub-assemblies. You can go in here and get information you want. Again, this is on a browser. This works on Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Microsoft Edge, the very latest version of Internet Explorer. I will tell you, Internet Explorer itself has been a bit cranky because this is based on WebGL, and, well, just be aware. It's also based on quite a bit of open source. The viewer uses Three.js underneath. So as a developer, there's the APIs we give you access to, but there's also the APIs of Three.js itself, should you want to hack it, so to speak. So I'm just going to pick this house. So you can see this house loads up. It's got materials. It's got a model. And this works with office buildings and, you know, pretty scalable. The largest model I've ever seen using in Forge was 9 gigabytes. It was like 25 linked Revit projects. And it works just fine. You'd be surprised. Another example, thought it was good to show that often when sharing, there's data coming from external data sources. So we have a model here that came from Mechanical Modeler. This one came from Inventor, but again, could be SolidWorks, could be ProE, could be a StepIgest file, could be a building, could be from Revit, could be an IFC file. In this code sample, we've linked it into an external data source, and we're using a Mongo database. And I'm just going to double click on ABS Plastic, and it drives the view. Here's all the ABS Plastic in the model. And I can do things like, let's update the cost of, well, here, see this? Acetyl resin is clearly really expensive. So acetyl resin white. So I'm going to go here and change the pricing of acetyl resin white. And you'll see this JavaScript pie chart update when I do this. Right, because it's JavaScript, I'm in a browser. This is a website that was built in less than 2 days by a full stack web developer. And look at property information. So let me go in here and pick this part. Center of gravity, area, density, mass, volume. This information all came from the model. Design tracking, part numbers. But down here, database information. This data is not in the model. This data is coming from an external data source. We've done this same sample with SAP, NetSuite, Salesforce.com, Microsoft SharePoint, and it's relatively straightforward. Most design entities have a unique ID, an identifier. Frequently, it's a GUID. That you can use to create that key link between an external data source, whatever it happens to be, and the model itself. Another example, mixing 2D and 3D. I got 3D, I've got 2D. I can go here to my pie chart. This pie chart, these bar charts, this is just open source JavaScript graphing. So I'm going to pick ducks. Now, look here, I've highlighted in 2D, I've visualized in 3D, just by clicking on a pie chart. Maybe I want to see the pipes. Again, highlighted in 2D, visible in 3D. Let me do something like, let's look at properties. Let's go in here and look at the property of this fitting, pipe types, offset, start offset, and offset. What kind of system is this? This is a sanitary system. It's a copper pipe. It's 4 inches in diameter. All this engineering information available. Now again, depending on who you are, maybe you want to work in a 2D view, and you can do that. Maybe you want to work in a 3D view, and you've got these pie charts, which are basically doing queries on the metadata, on the attribute data. This was a website that was put together by one of our engineers. It took him about a month, but he was taking 2 hours here, 2 hours there, so it's kind of less than 15 hours a time. And he was just learning. It was kind of first time through. You could build, if you have a full stack web developer, you can grab this code sample, build a similar 2D, 3D experience, in a day or two. Some other things we've been doing is having fun with is hooking up models to real-time sensor data. So we'll call this fun with IoT. This is Autodesk's Pier 9 lab. We've got a machine shop there. I can go here, click on this icon, and here's this is live sensor data from the machine. Now, reality is I'm not getting sensor data right now because the sensor data is not live at the moment. But I think you get the idea. Let me just show you that again. I'll pick a different machine this time. All right, so maybe I want to come over to this machine, see this sensor data. So an interesting way to project data. We've also got some code samples that do things like take the data, and instead of giving me dials, it gives me numeric. We also have it where we've done thematic mapping, so maybe you want to see the temperature of a surface in a thematic, color-coded kind of way. This is a new one. This is a very simple, trivial thing, but I think it really helps make a point because at this point people are going, how do I get my data in so Forge can work on it? So we built a little code sample that shows using Threelegged OAuth. It allows me to pass my files that are in Box. This is my corporate Autodesk Box account to Forge, so I can view things that are residing in Box that are not residing with Autodesk. And it's a perfect example of Threelegged OAuth. I got to log into Box. I've got my account, but now it goes, hey, this data is actually within Autodesk, and are you an Autodesk authorized? So now I log into my Autodesk account, and Box says, hey, is it okay? Autodesk gets access to this Box data. Okay, now what you see here are all my folders on Box right now. And I can go here and pick apart or a model or whatever. Now I'm going to do a bit of an enduro test here. This is asking a lot. So Autodesk Hospital, this is actually a very large Revit project. See this? Preparing the view. Autodesk Hospital metric, it's preparing. And you'll see how fast this is, and hopefully things are fast. Oh, translation in progress. You'll get an idea on how fast one of your models can be. And here it comes. And this is, you'll see here in a sec, this is not a small model. Now this code sample actually uses what we call a transient bucket. It passes through Autodesk for a very short period of time and then gets deleted. And it's taking a sec to load up all the detail of this hospital. And I'll give it a sec to do that, and then we'll kind of zoom in and take a look, and you can get some idea what we're dealing with here. All right, so here's this hospital. In fact, when I go in close, we can see the helicopter sitting on the roof. In fact, it takes time for this model to refresh. You can see the solar panel sitting on the roof, and I can do crazy stuff like I'm going to section this big hospital live in real time. All right, and let's do a section. I'm going to pull down here so we can see things like, what's the floor plan look like in this hospital, or what's the lobby look like. In fact, let me go way in here. Okay. Very simple code sample, shows you how you get your data in and visible from wherever that data sits today, whether you have it up on the cloud or it's sitting on some local server. So those have been Autodesk code samples. I thought I'd now show some examples of what partners have done. Here's a partner of ours, Constructor, has a blog. It's a customer blog. They show their shipbuilding customers what's possible. They stuck a ship into the web page of their blog. I like the fun part. It says here, took me 3 minutes to set this up. Took me 3 minutes to embed a model into a web page. And some of our partners, they shock me because this is not a small model. So I'm going to take this apart, and you can kind of see how big this model is. It's huge. And then we can do things like, let's look at properties again, which is for a shipbuilder. This is what it's really all about, right? Material. Here's that GUID we talked about. Most entities have a unique ID for an external data source. You can see now, with a little luck here, material, LCG, TCG, VCG. You know what those are? Those are the coordinates of the center of gravity of that part, that piece of steel. Ships are made of steel, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters. These parts are heavy. You do not move many individual pieces of steel around without a crane, and you need to know where to grab it. So the idea that you're down in the shipyard and you're hooking up this piece of steel to an overhead crane, and you need to know where the center of gravity is, and you can get it just from having a laptop or even just your phone there. Another example, this is the dean of, I think, the School of Civil Engineering at St. Petersburg Polytechnic University. He saw Forge and he said, hey, I want to show off some of the work my grad students are doing. So they went and added 2 models to his website. And again, this was like, kind of 10-minute kind of deal. And I'm going to have some fun with this one, and we'll cross-section it because this is such a crazy building. All right, so we can go in here. Maybe I, want to find out what the building core is about for this crazy building. I can go right in here and, see what's happening in the building core. Another example, partner in the Netherlands is helping their customers, construction companies and architects show off the work they've been doing with building information modeling. They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, in this case, Revit projects up here online, open to the public. You can go here, bldng360.com. You can play with it. Here's a building. Right, and again, maybe I'll show sectioning so we can kind of see what the floor plan looks like. All right, so here's the floor plan. Oh, maybe I want to tilt it just for fun. Maybe I want to do a vertical section, something along those lines. Right, so I can do sectioning, and he's changed the UI completely. So for drawings, he's just made that a tab. Here's the drawings, and I can just pick a drawing, and there's the drawing. So he's kind of changed the UI up to make it easier for people, to navigate 2D, 3D. Easy enough. Here's a partner who's doing CFD. Now, this is a partner who really took advantage. They know WebGL, they know Three.js, so they wanted to do some, what I call crazy stuff, really pushing the technology. They actually do, this is CC Tech in India, and as an aside, they're a consulting company. They do system integration work. Should anybody want some help, and at a value price, being based in India. So they're using Forge here, and I'll, here's their sectioning, and they've done crazy stuff like added animation. And you can see here the flow lines being animated. And again, the beauty is, using Forge, they were able to put this, and they already had a CFD solver code. So using Forge, using the solver code they already have, they were able to put this together in a week or two. And they've done some stuff like you could see here in the corner. They've got a different user interface for section cutting. So, if I want to move this section, I can use these sliders. They've actually left the Autodesk standard Forge viewer sectioning in too. So, but easy to do. Another partner of ours, Icon, they help retail stores. The biggest, I think the 10 biggest retail stores in the UK are customers of theirs. They're giving their customers the ability to view their facilities, both what they have today and what it could be in the future, what a new layout might be. And they've integrated Forge into their website so their customers can navigate and see. So this is some kind of lab like in a university or a school. Okay, now for those of you who are into reality capture, so point clouds and mesh, flying drones, that kind of thing, I thought I would show you the result of the reality capture API, which is not public beta yet for Forge. We expect it to be public beta by the end of October, if not fully released by that time. So this is about taking photos and turning them into 3D meshes, where you can do things then like diffs. Maybe I want to find out how much dirt got moved, or I want to do a survey. This is a dam site here in California. Maybe I want to inspect it, right? So I fly a drone, spend maybe an hour taking pictures, bring the drone back, upload the pictures to the Forge Reality Capture API, get the mesh, pop it up on a website where people can then check it out and do all that in a couple hours, a morning, so to speak. So you can survey a construction site every day, and see what's happening. We've got a model with, this is the 500K triangle model. I have one with 2 million, but it's actually not all that much slower. So it works amazingly well. Some of the other things with the Forge Viewer, because it's based on Three.js, you can do searches on GitHub and find code samples. So we found a code sample for adding noting to your view, and we just added that right into the Forge Viewer. We also did things about saving view states. So what's the location and orientation of the model? Also, what's the explode state? And so you can basically jump around from view to view to view, or I can go in here and make a custom view. So I'm going to come right in here and save a new state. And let's call this cylinder head top. Right, we'll save this state. There's a new state. So again, I'll go back to some of these other states. Wow, there's a lot of notes on that one. And remember, I saved this cylinder head top, and there it is. So I can very quickly create a walkthrough, an inspection of a mechanical device, or maybe it's walkthrough of a building with, frankly, zero coding. And you could build a site to do this. And one of our engineers kind of built this site out in a day or two with the code sample. I mean, you can replicate this, in a few hours using your favorite model. We have a bio-nano group here at Autodesk. You might think this isn't Forge, but it is. They're using Forge to show folks what molecules look like, what DNA, what chromosomes look like. And if I can remember, I think this is Explode. We can take it apart. And I'll tell you, university researchers, they love it. The idea they can analyze a molecule, they can analyze a piece of DNA, and then share it with their colleagues around the world through a simple website. Okay, developer.autodesk.com is the go-to place. You can see the existing fully released commercial APIs right now. Data management API for getting your data up and down. I showed you that box example where we use that quite a bit. Design automation is AutoCAD up on the cloud. We used to call it AutoCAD IO. Model derivative is doing the translations. Also, one of those translations is options is a viewing format, for which I showed a lot of. And then there's the viewer itself. JavaScript, HTML5, REST-based architectures, it's all standard web technology. So the ability to totally customize the experience is quite easy. You can see beta, 3D print API, BIM 360. This is specifically working with BIM 360 docs. And I mentioned the reality capture API. This isn't in public beta yet, but it's coming shortly for those of you who might be interested in that. And here on the website, you can get, there's lots of examples here, like, let's go look at model derivative. API basics, field guide, supported translations, file translation, thumbnails, geometry extraction, data. Remember, for a lot of people, what they want is data. Maybe it's somebody in purchasing, cost estimating, scheduling, someone along those lines where, being able to count things and knowing what's in the model is every bit as important as the geometry itself. Okay, and just to inspire you, we've had some people do some really crazy things, building really some wild experiences, like, I'll show you this one because it's too much fun. We're going to have a 2D thumbnail and a 3D model. And if I struggle navigating in 3D, I can use the 2D thumbnail to do the navigation. All right, so here's the 3D model. And sure, if I'm my sons who are 25 and 23, who grew up on 3D games, they're going to go directly and deal with the 3D model. Yet my mother might want to use this 2D thumbnail. I don't know if you can see this red arrow here. I'm going to put that into the model, right? And I can now drag this red arrow around the 2D layout, which is driving my 3D model. Or maybe I want to go outside and walk around the outside of the building. And, easy enough for me to do. Let's go see what this building looks like from outside. Okay, and I think I'm reaching the end of my demos. Yeah, that's it for my demos. I'm demoing enough. I'm getting too carried away here. Sorry, folks, but hopefully you're enjoying it. So who's using it? Now, I looked yesterday to see how many people are working with Forge today. These are people, what I call API keys, which is in most cases the number of companies working with Forge today, but it's not quite. Some companies may have 2 or 3 keys. We have just over 400 monthly active users today using Forge. You can see some of their names. Some of them are large companies. J.E. Dunn's a large construction company in the southern part of the U.S. We've got service providers, people like Dragon Innovation, who are helping people outsource manufacturing. 3DR, 3D Robotics, flies drones around, captures existing conditions, like that Calaveras Dam I was looking at later. Earlier, Open Bomb, who's pulling bombs out of mechanical assemblies. AMC Bridge, like CC Tech, they're a service provider. You know, for those of you who are liking what you see with Forge but may not have the resources handy, we've got several consultant system integrators who are quite up to speed with the use of Forge should you want help. And so, you know, why Forge? You know, it's about competing in the future of making things, really requires a different approach. Now, I'll tell you, for most people using Forge the first time, they do something simple. They take an existing piece of infrastructure they have, whether that's a desktop app, a mobile app, an intranet, an extranet, and they add some capability to it, being able to get at engineering and design information, whether that's the data or the model, and they expose that to people that couldn't in the past. But at the same time, we encourage people to think big, kind of re-envision processes and workflows, because we think there's a much bigger opportunity here. And it's not just around Forge. Whether it's leveraging IoT, whether it's leveraging 3D printing, whether it's leveraging the easy collaboration experiences you can build, whether it's leveraging the compute power, there's an opportunity here, and it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to kind of take a step back and re-envision what you're doing. So I encourage all of you here, get to know the Forge basics, do some simple things, deliver your existing customers some delightful experiences that they're just shocked that they have this easy access to design and engineering data. But while you're doing that, talk to them. Think about what you could do, what they could do to really change things in a big way, to really give them serious competitive advantage, not just improved existing processes a wee bit. Okay, so again, Autodesk has invested in building this platform to power the future of making things. It's about connection, making it really easy, reducing the complexities of sharing information, of connecting people. It's about technology. We've invested, at this point, we've invested hundreds of man years in Forge, and we're making that available to you. So you know this saying about building on, standing on the shoulders of giants. It's an opportunity for you to do this. It's about easy integration. The number of partners in major accounts, large customers I've talked to, who heard this Forge story and weren't really sure, went back, had one of the developers work with Forge, and within days had a demoable prototype working. And then they come back and said, you were right. This isn't like desktop where development takes weeks and months, if not a year, if not several man years. You can get some surprisingly good results and capabilities and customer delight in days, maybe a week or two. And if you have a really good full stack developer, some of this will happen in hours. It's just not hard. And again, Autodesk providing you infrastructure, and it's not just Autodesk providing infrastructure, also your friendly cloud provider, whether that's AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google, or maybe it's IBM Blue Glue, whoever that happens to be. So try it out, developer.autodesk.com. I showed you a whole bunch of code samples. Hopefully they've inspired you. You can go to GitHub. Those code samples are up there on GitHub, so you can jump right in. Okay, and with that, we are going to move on to the App Store. Unless we have any questions.
I have one question from John, who is asking about reality capture API availability, when it will be available for partners to develop?
Okay, so if you have a need right now for reality capture, I suggest you send me an email, jim.quanci@autodesk.com. Talk a little bit about what you want to use it for. We have private betas today. Private betas mean we've got about 10 partners that we're working with, helping us tune the reality capture API. We've been doing a bit of replumbing to dramatically increase performance, reliability, and lower compute time costs. Now, when it's going to be public beta, there's a UAV expo taking place starting Halloween, and we very much are pushing full speed ahead to be at least public beta, if not generally available commercial release by that time. So it's coming pretty fast. So you have a choice there. Any other questions, Viru?
Nothing. Another one is on BIM 360 technology. Is it using the Forge viewer? But I told them that I'll come back to them because I think I need to check with Mikako on this.
No, the answer is absolutely. So BIM 360 docs, which is different than BIM 360 Field and Glue, which are based on an older technology base. BIM 360 docs uses the Forge viewer. It uses Forge DM, the data management application that pushes files around. If you use Forge data management, you can very easily access and push and pull files to BIM 360 docs. I will say we're not done yet. We're adding capability around being able to create projects, manage users, upload a wider variety of files to BIM 360 docs. And over the next few months, you'll see, I'll call it next generation versions of BIM 360 Field and Glue built on top of docs, which is built on top of Forge. I'll tell you, for those of you who are system integrators, consultants, the beauty is the customer may have data in Fusion 360, A360, BIM 360, Box, Dropbox, up on their servers. The Forge data management API makes all that very accessible with a very simple, REST-based architecture. It's using standard, OAuth, two-legged, three-legged. Makes it quite easy to allow you to build an experience where the user doesn't need to know and probably doesn't want to know or deal with where's my files. That becomes a plumbing thing on the back end that you can free the user up for having to deal with. Any other questions, Viru?
Yes. So the collaboration for Revit, which is does C4R is also built on Forge, is the question. Richard, if you want to ask the question, I can unmute you now.
So I can answer a little bit of that. C4R, we are using Forge with C4R, but at the same time, and for those of you who don't know, C4R is collaboration for Revit. This is a way of coordinating, having a central model that a distributed work team can work on while the changes they're making are getting synced with the central model. Now, I'll tell you, I am not an expert at C4R, collaboration for Revit, but the good part is the engineering team that built for collaboration for Revit also built Forge data management. They're the exact same engineering team. So though I don't know the details on how that works, and I know there are some issues around that today, depending on what you want to do with C4R and Forge, but I also know some of the things we've been asked for are things we are pursuing, because it's an absolutely reasonable request and need, and more than reasonable, it's one of those things we have to do. So that'll be something you will see enhancements rolling out over the next few months. Any other questions, Viru?
No, I think I don't see any other question.
Yeah, I will say that C4R question, again, do be quick to drop us an email. Mikako Harada, and then mikako.harada@autodesk.com is the person on my team who's looking after the integration of BIM 360. She's sitting not quite down the hall from some of the people who are working on collaboration for Revit C4R, so can definitely help talk about what you're trying to accomplish and what you can do now and what's coming.
Another question, probably most of them have this question, is Forge API still free? So this
Forge,
asked by George. Greg.
So the Forge API, well, why don't we go to the website and we'll go see exactly what the deal is. So let me go here and let's go to developer.autodesk.com. And in fine print, no charge for API use. Click here for preliminary pricing. This is going to open a PDF file. Now, this is about to change. We're about to make some announcements. You can see where we are right now. So it's actually free now. Our expectation, it will stop being free at higher levels of usage around the first week of November. So where are we? We're September 20th. So you've got probably still 6 weeks of free, unlimited, use all you want. Come that early November, and again, I hope it's early November, could be later, won't be earlier. You have that Explore. You know, you've got these 25 uploads, 25 asset generations, 100 models processed, 1 CPU hour. That's free per month on an ongoing basis. If you need more than that, you go to the build level. $400 a month if you subscribe for a year. So that would be $4,800 for a year. And you can see the capacity: 300 uploads, 300 assets, 400 models. Now I'll tell you, when we start charging in early November, and this is between me and you, we are probably going to go live with a special. You've got 10 times that capacity. So 3,000 uploads, 3,000 assets, 4,000 models, 250 CPU hours. And some of that is we don't have the PAX thing figured out yet. We're still sorting through, you know, what the payment system and process is going to be for people who need large capacity. And it's probably going to be, my guess, April before we have that sorted out. So between now and then, to make it easy, come November, we're going to give people 10 times this capacity, which we believe for 99 out of 100 people using Forge will get them what they want. And if it doesn't, just reach out to us. We've done a number of one-off deals with Forge already. And we'll be doing a number more. Like, we're north of 10 kind of one-offs where people had the need for very high capacity and, you know, wanted some long-term cost commitments going out a year, 2 years, so they could move ahead with their commercial implementation. And we're happy to do that. We're happy to have that discussion. Okay, now I would look back at this website sometime in the next week. We are going to have this update, and you'll see some changes to this. And then I'd say look again first week or two of November, where you're likely to see this. Well, we're really giving you 10 times this. Okay, any other questions?
One more question. So after seeing this slide, Naveed has a question on, is it viewer is free? Because there are some cost on the transaction and all, but the specific question is whether viewer is free or not.
The viewer is free. You can view all you want. So there's a cost, and there's a real cost to Autodesk when you upload. You know, we're paying AWS. And model derivative, when you're translating that file such to turn it into a file format the viewer uses, or to turn it into another format, maybe it's an OBJ file, something along those lines. Maybe you want to get the thumbnail. But the actual viewing is free. So once you've, you know, done that initial translation, you know, 1 million people could view it. Don't care. No cost to that. The other thing is on data management when it comes to uploading your file. There's transient buckets and there's persistent buckets. So if you upload the file into a transient bucket, so you don't want us to store that file on an ongoing basis, that upload is free. That does not count against your data management numbers. So 300 uploads is 300 uploads into a persistent bucket. If it's into a transient bucket, it doesn't count. You basically can upload into transient buckets all day long, no cost. Now, we'll still be counting your translations, model derivative. And again, viewing's free. View all you want. More the merrier. Other questions? Good questions.
I think we reached the end. Anybody else if want to raise the hand? Okay, I think that's it for now. Questions?
Okay, so let's move on to the Autodesk App Store. And just to take a step back, the Autodesk App Store for Autodesk partners today is a marketing tool. There's a huge number of Autodesk customers, and if you look at it, somewhere on the order of 1 in 4 Autodesk customers go to the App Store every year. 1 in 4. So we're talking millions of customers go to the Autodesk App Store every year. So if one of your target customers are Autodesk customers, there is no better place to find them than the App Store. Now, it's an App Store, and you may go stores for selling, and we absolutely have partners selling through the App Store. But I will tell you today, a lot of our customers, business to business, they're not consumers who are used to buying things in app stores. Business to business, most of our customers haven't quite figured the App Store thing out yet. Using credit cards or PayPal, or it's not a natural thing for a lot of customers. So though we are getting thousands of sales, of partner sales through the App Store every month, we are not. The revenue through the App Store is modest. But what is happening, we have lots of partners who are using the App Store to find new customers, to get relationships started with new customers, to build their business. At this point, we have several partners who have built multi-million-dollar revenue streams by finding and engaging new customers using the Autodesk App Store. So that is your big opportunity. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to look at the App Store. So just for those of you who haven't been there, just apps.autodesk.com. This is the App Store. This is the front end. We have individual stores. So a store for Revit, a store for AutoCAD, store for Maya, and so on. Lots of stores. Our newest store for Fusion 360. We have huge volume through the stores. Revit and AutoCAD are the 2 most popular stores. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people going to these stores every year. Maya, Max are 2 of the stores where we have the highest download rates. Over half the people who go to Maya and Max stores do a download. You'll laugh. The Fusion 360 store, at the growth rate it has right now, it's likely the Fusion 360 store is going to have more traffic than the Inventor store early next year, which is pretty cool to say the least. So you can see, here's some apps in the Fusion store. Some of these are really cheap. Here's a Spur Gear Creator for $1.99. We got trials. Again, as a marketing tool, this is absolutely a great asset for you. We've got free. Sometimes the best thing to do is give away a free app so the potential customer can get a feel for the quality, reliability, ease of use, and then upsell them to one of your paid apps. Let me go to the Revit store, because one of the things you can do, you can sell web service apps. So it's not just about apps you install, you can actually do web services. And I think we have a few here. Let's see if I can find some. Let's see if I see any here. Monthly ones. I may not be in luck. These are all, well, here's a $99 one. Here's a $450 app. Maybe I need to go to the AutoCAD store to see some monthly web service kind of apps. That, or I'm not going to look out, and the store's been updated recently, and I'm not going to flail around looking for some by-the-month apps. Oh, I know what I should have done. Let me go to Revit, and let me do a search on publishers, and my friends at Sophistic, I think, have done a few apps. Here's their apps, and here's one. Sophistic Reinforcement Generator. Let's go see that one. So they're charging $150 a month. This is a subscription. Subscribe now, free 30-day trial. Pretty cool app, works with Revit. If you do reinforcement generation for basically concrete detailing with Revit, this can save a customer lots and lots of hours every week doing that detailing. So again, this kind of pricing is possible and encouraged. Now, some of you may use Forge, as part of your web service experience. This idea of selling subscriptions. And here, $150 a month, this is not a small amount of money. It becomes a real business opportunity for you. And I'll tell you, over time, we expect the store to become more of a sales location, not just a marketing location. So let me go back to PowerPoints on the App Store, give you some statistics. Now, over 10,000 people a workday go to the App Store. And these primarily people who have an Autodesk desktop product. So people who have invested several $1,000s or are already paying $150, $200 a month for an Autodesk subscription. So think about 10,000 people. That's a decent sized, concert hall that come to the App Store every day. Downloads, number of app downloads. So these are people who trust the store, who've learned to trust the store, who've learned to trust the install experience, who've learned to trust, that Autodesk is working with publishers to ensure quality, reliability, good docs, seamless install. We are crossing the 2 million download threshold. And I'll tell you, we are cranking. We are averaging over 75,000 app downloads a month. So it was only 18 months ago we passed 1 million apps being downloaded since the store opened. And in 18 months we've had another 1 million. And at the rate we're going, we will reach the 3rd million in well less than a year. So the customers are absolutely embracing the App Store as a trusted place to go to find apps to help them get the job done. And get the job done today, not next week, not next month, whether it's using a trial, a free version, or buying that first app to get the job done. It's working. Again, number of visitors to the store, you can see per year, steady growth. This hasn't stopped. Now, if you look today at how many Autodesk customers have desktop apps, number of let's call it monthly active users across all of Autodesk. It's in that area of 4 or 5 million people. So we've got a ways to go. We're well along. It's kind of like half of Autodesk monthly active users visit the store every year. Again, downloads. So near 1/3 of everyone who visits the store does a download. So if you've got a good app, if you've got an app that delivers value, if you have an easy to use and easy to understand app, you will get downloads. You will get leads. You will be able to build new customer relationships with customers absolutely around the world. Paid app sales, we are selling. We are having thousands of app sales through the store every year. I will tell you these aren't huge numbers. Now, I do expect over the next, I think in the next year or two, I expect to see an acceleration in this growth rate. Again, as these business to business, as these companies get more comfortable with doing acquisitions online through an app store. A number of apps in the store. Now these numbers are a bit old, so it's actually been a year. You'll see that last number, 1,983 apps, was actually just about a year ago. Today, we're at about 2,700, so 2,700 apps. So we're having good, strong growth in apps. So that's important because having a large number of apps is what drives customers to come back. It also drives people, new people finding the store when they do a Google search. The more apps, the more Google search results. About 1/3 of the people who come to the store come via a Google search. Most of the rest get there through the desktop. Autodesk desktops all have a single button, take me to the App Store, and so 2/3 of the people just literally come to the store via that mechanism. Again, if you're trying to reach Autodesk customers, there is no better way to do it. The other thing is the Autodesk customers who are using the App Store tend to be early adopters, tend to be people who like to try new things. So again, if you're trying to build a new customer base, these are the kind of customers who are likely to download an app and check it out. So if you've got something new, something a bit innovative, something cool, get it up in the App Store, and that's how you're going to find new customers and build a new business. And if you're not selling on a global basis, it'll absolutely help you build a global business. And that's it for the App Store. So back to Viru. We got any questions?
One question Anand had, so I thought of unmuting him so that he can ask. Yeah, Anand.
Hi, Jim. Good morning. Jim, I really wanted to understand, I mean, when we go for these vehicle buying sites, you see, we get to see these viewers where we can view the vehicle, experience the interiors, change the color and everything. So I just wanted to understand on a general term how Forge viewer is different in comparison to these.
Okay, so this is specifically you're asking about these car, and I'm going to call it configurators, where you may want to decide what the color is, or maybe you want to get the sport option. And frankly, they're not that different. Could you use Forge for some of that? You absolutely could. I will say I know a number of the configurators out there today that use Three.js, which is the same technology that Autodesk uses in the Forge viewer. One of the things we are working on is adding photorealistic ray tracing capabilities to the viewer, because when it comes to consumer goods, the Forge viewer has pretty good visualization, but it's not photorealistic. If you're going to buy a car, or maybe some clothes, or maybe an appliance, or you may want that photorealistic. You may need to be photorealistic in order to make that sale on that website. So that is definitely one of the things we are looking at. I'll also say if you're looking to build a configurator, you have to think through the user experience. The kind of default Forge viewer has a lot of capabilities, and if your user is someone who's an engineer or a technical person, being able to section, being able to orbit in 3D may be good things. If it's a consumer, if it's someone like my mother, you want to use the Forge APIs and do things like not allow rotation around the XY axis. Maybe you only want to allow them to orbit around the Z axis. You want to change the UI so there's just a couple of simple icon buttons so they can see things, or change colors, or change the different configurations. You don't want to give them all that detail. But on the other hand, maybe you're building a website where an engineer configures, I don't know, maybe it's a hydraulic manifold or some electronics, where the user is pretty sophisticated and wants a lot of options and wants a lot of dials and the ability to make changes, and wants the ability to see attributes, properties, and part numbers of every part of every piece of that assembly that they've configured. So I've probably said more than you wanted. I hope that helps.
Yeah, Jim. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Anand.
Yeah.
Other questions? Something I'll bring up on the App Store. Autodesk today takes no money. 100% of the money collected when a sale is made in the store goes to you, the publisher. Autodesk does reserve the right to, at some future time, to take a commission. What could that commission be? Well, the Apple Store takes 30%. I think Google Play takes, is it 15 or 20%? There's some other stores out there that take 10%. I don't know. At some point in time, we reserve the right to do that. But for now, and the stores have been out there 3 years now, we take nothing. You get it all And I have no expectation we're going to be taking a cut for at least the next 12 to 18 months. I want to make sure you get a good roaring sales through the store before we consider taking any commission for helping you make the sale.
I have a
Questions?
question. Yes. The question is on does Autodesk have any plans to add some more services on media and entertainment in Forge?
So is Autodesk going to add any services around media and entertainment? There's a few things we're looking at, and some of this is forward-looking. Clearly, we're doing some things around the performance and the visual quality of the viewer such that it might be usable in a media and entertainment environment. And some of that includes augmented reality and virtual reality. A lot of the early uses of VR is game kind of stuff. We believe WebVR has the possibility of becoming a very powerful way to build web experiences that are in that entertainment realm. And we're doing work in that area that will make that possible. But at the moment, so is there a specific new web service for media and entertainment on Forge? Today, no. The other thing, if you're in the media and entertainment business, is when will we enable Forge data management to work with data like in Shotgun, which is a really good question, and something worth talking about. And love to hear what you might want for the media and entertainment side. Questions?
Nothing much, except there is a question on how can we force more data to be shared of the downloading user. I think it's more of a general question about how we can enforce, how Autodesk can getting more details about the user of Autodesk sign-in. Because at present we do only get the email ID of the user who's downloading it. But if they want to know the country and the background, so it's more of a Autodesk sign-in, single sign-in level than let's say about App Store.
So Vero, maybe you can help with that. I thought we were doing some work to be able to give publishers a little bit more information than just the email address.
Yeah, I said I'll be emailing him on that.
Okay, but could you say what like I know we're going to provide country. Is there anything else we're going to be providing?
No, I think it all depends on the what information is shared with the Autodesk single sign-in details. Even at present, we share only the email ID.
Just email, yeah. I mean, the real answer to this, it's a privacy concern, and the user has control over their personal data. So that really limits what we can share. So yeah, that really puts you in a position of, if they get your app, you're having to reach out to them using their email address to get more information from them, and then they get to make that decision, do they or don't they give you more information. Yeah, I understand the question, but we're trying to be sensitive to privacy and privacy laws around the world, what we can do and what we can't do. The other thing you might do is, if you're putting trials in the App Store, as part of the trial, you could make it, after, a few days or a week, you could tell them, hey, if you want to keep using this trial, I need more information from you. We do not encourage you to ask for information up front because it will, the person wants to decide whether what you are providing them is of value and whether they really want to engage with you first. So you want to let them do that without pressuring them. But then asking them for more information, absolutely go ahead and do that. Then they can make that decision if they want to keep using your app to give you more information on who they are. But we're leaving the user in control. The customer is in control of this. No question about it. Any other questions?
No, I think I don't see any other questions. No hands raised.
Okay, then I'll leave it with to thank everybody for spending time with us. I hope this was helpful. We are recording this session. It will be available in the next day or so. Should you want to share it with other people, or should you just want to rehear what did Jim say? What did Viru say? And again, thank us for joining us. And whether you were here for the App Store or the Forge intro, we're here to help. Don't be bashful reaching out, and have a great day. Or if you're in Europe, have a great evening.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.